Hello, my name's Gary Schotten, and I'm here as a part of this global effort to inspire better business, and I hope you'll be a part of this in many ways. Today I'm going to talk about reducing costs. Reducing costs. You see, from an accounting standpoint, your profit obviously is the difference between your sales volume or your sales revenue minus your costs, and costs could be broken down into your direct costs and another category of your overhead or indirect costs. But as you go along in your company and you're trying to make profit, one of the best things you can do is to reduce costs. And that's kind of a tricky endeavor, because sometimes if you're not careful, you reduce costs by cutting out something that was valuable to your customers, and your customers wish that you hadn't reduced that. Lack of service, or product size, or size of the meal that you might provide, or the cup of coffee that you might provide, and that might be just over the edge. You start losing customers. So I was told by another author this story, and I'm going to pass it on, that one of the major airlines in the United States realized that they could save as much as $50,000 per year on their overall airlines with all of their flights if they did one simple thing. They cut out one olive out of the salads that they were supplying. I don't know if anybody's going to miss that olive. I kind of doubt it. So there's $50,000 drops to the bottom line. They also decided that when they're taxiing up to the port or up to the gate from the outside, that rather than using two engines, they would use just one engine. Well, I'm sure I wouldn't notice that, because I doubt if they're going very fast, so good cut. That alone is going to save that airline $5 million. Now, another one kind of came closer to home to me, but the rest of the industry followed suit. There are no more hot meals on many of the flights. And what this airline discovered is that they took out 2 or 3 rows of seats were taken up because of the hot meals. They were able to add seats in those rows because, see, it wasn't the cost of the meal, it wasn't the cost of the heating, that wasn't the issue. It was the weight, the actual added weight to the overall flight, overall airplane. And I'm in a city that has a lot to do with aviation, and I know that the airlines are always very careful to only add weight to their overall structure, their overall airplane, the base of the airplane, if it's only absolutely needed. And then there's new things in composites and the way they can make structural design that they're taking weight out. Wow. So this removing the hot meal, though, netted $50 million per year per that airline. Wow, that drops to the bottom line normally. And I'm sure that was also adding back the extra luggage or an extra capacity to haul people and luggage. Now, in my company, I have to watch costs, and this whole discussion is going to hinge upon how good and how professional you are. And I did mention these on 2 other completely separate teachings like this. One was knowing your numbers. You know, someone in business must at some point be able to really understand their accounting, understand their numbers, understand how the numbers were derived. And you don't have to be the bookkeeper, you don't have to enter the numbers, but as owner or CEO or key person inside your company, you better understand your numbers, because you wouldn't know that these things that I just talked about would save that much money unless you really understand your numbers. I also taught on job costing, and that would be one of those cases again. If you don't know what it's costing you to do this job, supply this meal, fix this person's hair, that's both selling a product. See, in my business, I have to know what the costs are for these parts that you see behind me. We sell these parts, and we work always trying to always improve and get a better understanding of what the cost is, because we could be selling something under cost. I don't want to do that. Another cost reduction or saving money thing happened in our company. Back in 2009, we had a huge economic downturn. I had 65 employees the start of 2009, and about 4 months later, I had only 24 employees. That means I let off 41 employees, if my number's right. And that hurt me a lot. I had to tell 41 people that used to work for me they'd need to go find a job someplace else. Unfortunately, is when there's not many jobs for anybody else. Now, we had insurance, they had a gap, they had unemployment insurance that I'd paid for, so there was a window of time. It wasn't just out on the street because I had to let them go, but I had to cut costs. You better believe I brought the core people in. We looked at everything and maintained a new standard of cost on certain things. Example, this surprises people. If you go into our bathroom at the shop, you would have, yes, an air dryer, which is fairly common, but a lot of our guys don't want to put their hands into an air dryer. And in the past, before 2009, we had this dispenser on the wall, and we had paper, and somebody would roll out, they would roll out like 8 feet of paper and dry their hands, and they'd put it over in the trash. And at the end of the day, we had a bucket full, a whole big container full of hand wipes. Well, we went out and bought a wash machine and dryer, older, used, but commercial grade. And we bought white hand rags. And we put in our bathrooms right there today, we put a little clip. It's really a paper clip that has a little spring to it. We put a nail on it, and we put Bob. And under Bob, we put a little paper clip, and we hung a white hand towel. That's Bob's hand towel. We took on George. We put one for George. We put one for Gary. We put one for everybody. And once a week we go in there and pull all those, put them in the wash them. And anytime somebody wants another hand towel, they can just go get a clean hand towel. But at home, I don't wash and dry my hands once and then every single time get a brand new towel. I use it over and over again, and it's my same towel. We saved, I think, in the neighborhood of $100, well, about $50 a week. Well, that adds up. And so we're looking at cost savings. Now, there's limits, you know that. And if we're not careful, you could overdo it and you could run people away. I'll tell you a couple limits. I have a place I got coffee. And I kind of don't like this about this place, because I went and I had a cup of coffee and it clearly said 20 ounces. And then a few days or weeks or after doing this for a long time, actually weeks and weeks and weeks and months, and get my cup of coffee in the morning, I noticed that the price on the coffee went up 7 or 8 cents. Well, I can buy that. I can understand it went 7 or 8 cents up. So from whatever price it was, it's now 7 or 8, maybe 5 to 7 cents higher. Well, I could kind of live with that. But then I noticed they changed the cup. It doesn't say 20 ounces anymore. It says large. They don't tell me what the size. And I looked at that compared to the old cup. They actually took volume off. I started buying my coffee someplace else. I'm tight. Well, we got to be watching this. If we're not careful, we're going to end up with people that are upset with us. We have customers, you see. I wouldn't go to my customer, which is a long-standing customer, and try to shave it down too much to give them something less, something of lesser quality or lesser size or lesser weight. I just wouldn't do that. That's me. But I can look at what I'm doing to produce it and cost less to get there, less for me to make it. And there's where we try to cut our cost. You see, our customers want to hear me say to them, and I tell them all the time, we don't have a job unless my customer has a customer. So my customers, so we make these parts, we don't sell them to just anybody. They're not a commodity item. We sell them to one particular customer, and they then assemble them into a final product, and then they sell it to their customer. You see, if I raise my price too much, I'm too expensive, my parts are too expensive, I drive the cost of my customer, the local company we deal with, so that their costs are too high, and then we're not competitive against the rest of the world on that product. So I try to always what we call cost management partnership. We are asked to, and we bring ideas that will actually make the sales price less. It's another subject, but it fits right in here. Well, I hope this is helpful to you. You're reducing your cost is going to be important to making profit. I hope you'll share these. These are designed to inspire better business. Just being willing to on the bottom of your, after you view this, right, if you'll just scroll down a little bit, you'll see where you can leave a comment. You can hit a button that says, I like this. Boy, that helps us because other people see that. Thank you.